I'm Hailey Collins, 27, an assistant at an insurance company in Texas, who met and got engaged to Liam Parker, an old classmate. Liam's family is rich. His mother despises my humble background. At the class reunion, combined with a small engagement party and a group of old friends, I dressed simply because I didn't want to show off. Old friends, especially those who used to like. Liam laughed at me as a cheap bride. No one knew. My grandmother had just left me $32 million, but I hid it because I wanted to know everyone's true face. If you love real-life stories, chilling revenge, and dark family secrets, hit that subscribe button now. You're about to step into a world where the truth is far more terrifying than fiction. I didn't realize the zipper on my dress was stuck until I was already late. I twisted in front of the bathroom mirror, fingers fumbling behind my back, tugging at the fabric like maybe sheer stubbornness could magically turn a cheap metal zipper into something luxurious and obedient. It didn't. The old seam I'd hand-stitched last year pulled at the waist, reminding me this dress had already lived through 3 office holiday parties and 1 awkward first date. I stared at my reflection, and for a moment I saw exactly what they would see. Plain, simple, forgettable. The dress was soft gray, the kind of color no one would call elegant, just safe. The neckline modest, the hem hitting just above my knees. My hair was scraped into a low ponytail because I hadn't had time, or honestly the courage to sit in a salon chair and say, "Make me look like I belong in their world." I breathed in, slowly counting my heartbeat like I sometimes did when anxiety crawled up my throat. In 1, 2, 3, 4, out 1, 2, 3, 4. Calm and visible, not enough for now. "Hailey, honey, are you sure you don't want to try that blue one?" Mom's voice floated down the hallway, warm and worried. I opened the door a little and peeked out. It doesn't fit right. What I didn't say, the blue dress looked expensive. The gray dress looked like me. Mom appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. She was still in her work uniform from the diner. Black pants, white shirt, faint coffee stains that never quite washed out. She leaned against the frame and studied me with that look that saw past clothes, past makeup, straight into the softest parts of me. "You look beautiful," she said. I smiled, but it felt thin. "You have to say that. You're legally required as my mother." She laughed, the sound low and familiar. "No, I'm legally required to tell you when spinach is stuck in your teeth. Beautiful is optional, and you are." I turned back to the mirror. The dress might be simple, but I'd done what I could. Minimal makeup, just enough mascara to make my eyes look less tired. A touch of lip balm with color that claimed to be cherry bloom, but looked more like slightly alive. The only jewelry I wore was my small silver necklace, a tiny heart charm. The metal rubbed dull from years of absent-mindedly touching it. My fingers drifted as if on autopilot to the diamond ring on my left hand. That at least looked like it belonged at a reunion held in a fancy hotel ballroom. Liam had proposed 6 months ago under a string of fairy lights in his parents' backyard, his hands shaking slightly as he slid the ring on my finger. It wasn't massive, but it was perfect on me. Modest, clear, intentional. Like he'd picked something that wouldn't scream but would still whisper, "You matter." My heart had said yes long before my mouth did. Tonight wasn't just our 10-year high school reunion. Thanks to one hyper-enthusiastic group chat and some intense nostalgia, our old classmates had turned it into a chance to celebrate how far we've all come and unofficially preview Liam's future bride. Sophie's words, not mine. I grabbed my small purse from the bed and checked for the essentials: keys, phone, lip balm, and the folded piece of paper I kept tucked in a hidden pocket. The letter, even seeing the edge of it, sent a strange ripple through my chest, heavy and light at the same time. Hypnotic. I knew every curve of my grandmother's handwriting on that paper. I could hear her voice in the way the ink dipped and rose. I could picture the law office, the stiff chairs, the way my mother had wrung her hands so tightly. Her knuckles went white when they read the numbers out loud. $32 million. $32,000. The first time I saw it, the zeros didn't make sense. They looked like a typo, a glitch, a cosmic joke. "You're late," my older brother Noah's voice called from the living room. Again, shocking. I shoved the letter deeper into the purse and zipped it like I could hide the reality along with the paper. When I walked out, Noah was sprawled on the couch, one ankle resting on his knee, flipping absently through channels. He wore a faded t-shirt and jeans, his dark hair pulled back into a short ponytail. The tattoos on his forearm, sharp lines and swirling ink peeked out beneath his sleeve. He glanced up, looked me over from head to toe and smirked. Wow, look at you adulting. Shut up, I said automatically, but there was no heat in it. He clicked off the TV and sat up, elbows resting on his knees. You okay? It was a simple question, almost casual, but there was a depth in his tone I wouldn't have trusted from anyone else. People saw Noah as the problem child, the screw-up, the recovering addict who'd crashed one too many cars and broken one too many promises. They didn't see him sitting with me on the floor at 3 a.m., when anxiety made my chest tight, talking about old songs and stupid cartoons until my breathing slowed again. I nodded, then shook my head, then gave up pretending I'm nervous. About seeing those idiots from high school, he guessed. Or about parading around as future Mrs. Parker, both I admitted. He whistled low, double feature nice. I crossed my arms, feeling suddenly self-conscious. Do I look okay? He studied me for a long second, his gaze not cruel like some people's but sharp, observant. You look like you, he said finally. And that's the point, right? Is it? I asked quietly. His mouth tipped into a half smile. Did Grandma leave you $32 million so you could spend your life trying to look like someone else? The number sat between us like a live wire. 32 million. It had been 3 months since the reading of the will, and I still hadn't said the amount out loud to anyone outside this house. Not to my coworkers, not to my friends, definitely not to Liam. It sat behind my ribs like a secret star pulsing with quiet, dangerous light. Most days, it didn't feel real. I still went to my job at the insurance company in downtown Dallas, still made coffee in the communal kitchen, still budgeted my paycheck like the girl who'd grown up counting coins with Mom at the kitchen table. But the money was real. The accounts were real. The meetings with the financial advisor had been real, with charts and percentages and words like portfolio and asset protection that made my head spin. And the letter in my purse was very, very real. I reached up and straightened Noah's collar mostly so I didn't have to look directly into his eyes. Promise you won't tell anyone he finished? I already promised like 20 times. I know, I exhaled. Liam doesn't know yet, and his mom definitely doesn't know. Noah's jaw tightened slightly at the mention of Mrs. Parker Queen Victoria. That's not her actual title, I said, but my lips twitched despite myself. Should be, he muttered. Look, Hales, you sure you want to walk into a room full of people who already think they're better than you and give them a chance to prove it? Yes, I said before I could stop myself. The word surprised me. It rang in my chest clear and sharp. Yes, he repeated, eyebrows raised. They already think I'm less than, I said slowly. They've always thought that. But Grandma? My throat thickened around the word. She said something in the letter. She said, let them show you who they are before you decide who you'll be for them. I could still hear her voice, quiet but unshakable. Hypnotic in its certainty. Don't rush to impress anyone. Baby girl, let them talk. Let them judge. Let them underestimate you. People show you their soul when they think you're not important. Noah leaned back, studying me. So you're gonna… what? Walk in there like this, he gestured to my dress, and just observe, like a nature documentary. Kind of. I said I want to see who treats me exactly the same in this dress as they would if I walked in wearing a gown that costs more than their car. His grin flashed. Damn, that's kind of evil. Is it? I glanced down at my hands. It feels… fair. A car horn beeped outside, a short, cheerful sound that jolted me. That'll be him, Noah said. My heart did a weird little flip. Don't be weird, I warned. Me. He put a hand dramatically over his chest. I'm a delight. I grabbed my purse and walked to the door. Noah followed, stopping just before I opened it. Hey, Hales, he said softly. Yeah, I turned. He looked me straight in the eyes, all sarcasm gone. You know you don't have to prove anything to anyone in that room, right? Not even to Liam. Not even to me. You were worth more than all of them. Even before Grandma's zeros. The words hit something deep inside, something raw and trembling. Self-worth, freedom. Hidden crown. Swallowed thanks. He winked. Go knock 'em dead. Or just mildly disturb them. I'll take either. I stepped outside, and the humid Texas evening wrapped around me like a warm, sticky blanket. Liam's car sat at the curb, sleek and shiny, reflecting the light from the street lamp. He was leaning against the driver's side door, one hand in his pocket, the other scrolling on his phone. When he saw me, his face lit up. "Hey," he said, pushing off the car. He crossed the small distance and kissed me on the cheek, then pulled back to look at me. "You look really pretty." "Thanks," I said, my stomach untying just a little. He wore a navy blazer over a white shirt. No tie, dark jeans, just enough to look polished without trying too hard. His blonde hair was neatly styled, his blue eyes bright and earnest. Liam had the kind of easy charm that made people relax around him. He'd been class president junior year for a reason. "Hi, Liam," Noah called from the doorway. "Bring my sister back in one piece. And don't let anyone make her feel like crap, or I swear to God." "Got it," Liam said quickly, raising his hands in mock surrender. "I'll guard her with my life." We both laughed, but the words lodged in my chest. Guard her with my life. I slid into the passenger seat. As Liam pulled away from the curb, I watched our small house shrink in the side mirror, Mom's figure appearing briefly at the window, hand lifting to wave. So Liam said, glancing at me with a grin, "Ready to see the old gang?" "Ready as I'll ever be," I replied. He reached over and squeezed my hand. "It'll be fun. I promise. Everyone's dying to meet my fiancé." The word made my heart stutter. Fiancé. "It's been 10 years, he continued. "I mean, sure, some of them are a lot. But we've all grown up, right? I think you'll be pleasantly surprised." I thought of Sophie's voice messages in the group chat, high and bright and just a little too sharp. "Can't wait to see what you're wearing." Hales. "We're doing full glam tonight. I mean, we only get one first impression of future Mrs. Parker, right?" I smiled faintly, maybe. We drove in comfortable silence for a while, the city lights sliding by outside the windows. I watched them blur into streaks, white, red, yellow like falling stars. "Your mom is going to be there, right?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "Yeah," Liam said. "She helped the planning committee book the venue. Don't worry, she's excited to see you. She just wants everything to be perfect." Perfect. I pictured Mrs. Parker's face the first time I shook her hand. The polite smile, the quick flick of her gaze at my thrift store shoes, the way she'd said, "Oh, you work in insurance. That's practical." Like she was trying to find something nice to say about beige paint. I also remembered the way she'd hugged Liam afterward, fingers lingering on his shoulder as she whispered something I wasn't meant to hear. "You could have anyone." Maybe she hadn't meant it the way it sounded, maybe. My purse shifted in my lap as we turned onto the main road toward downtown, and my fingers brushed the outline of the folded letter again. A quiet thrum moved up my arm, an electric reminder. I wasn't the girl they thought I was. Not anymore. Not just the diner waitress's daughter. Not just the insurance assistant from the cubicle near the copier. Not just the nice, simple fiancé who should be grateful someone like Liam chose her. I had 32 million reasons not to beg for anyone's approval, but tonight wasn't about flaunting that. Tonight was about something subtler, slower, more powerful. Let them look at the dress. Let them measure the car. I arrived in the brand of my shoes the way I say nice to meet you. Let them decide where they think I belong. And while they did, I would watch, observe. Remember, hypnotic patience, quiet power. A secret crown no one could see yet. Liam reached over and turned on the radio, some nostalgic song from our senior year, spilling into the car. He started singing under his breath, off-key but enthusiastic, and I couldn't help but smile. I loved him. That was the most terrifying part, because love made me soft and money. This much money made other people sharp. "I'm glad you're coming with me," he said, eyes still on the road. "Honestly, I think you're the best thing I've done in the last 10 years. My chest tightened. "You mean that?" Of course, he squeezed my hand again. "Wait until they see you. They'll understand." I turned my face toward the window so he wouldn't see the flicker of doubt in my eyes. Would they? Or would they see exactly what they wanted to see? A simple girl in a simple dress, lucky to be standing next to Liam Parker as the hotel came into view. Glass and steel rising against the darkening sky, lights glowing like a promise and a warning. I felt my heart start to race. In 1, 2, 3, 4, out 1, 2, 3, 4. Calm, invisible. Not enough for now. Tonight their eyes would be on me. Tonight I would let them underestimate me. And later, much later, the most unforgettable hypnotic thing I would ever do was decide who deserved to know the truth. If the hotel lobby had a scent, it was money. Cold, polished money. Marble floors gleamed under chandeliers. every surface reflecting back an image of people who belonged here. The air conditioning hummed cool against my skin, as if the building itself was whispering, "You are small. You are temporary. You are lucky to stand here at all." Liam's hand settled at the small of my back as we crossed the lobby, a gentle pressure guiding me forward. "Third floor," he said. "Ballroom Magnolia." They really went all out. Of course they had. Our class had always been good at making things look bigger, shinier, more important than they were. Homecoming prom, senior prank. It was never just a party, it was a production. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. As we stepped inside, my reflection multiplied in the mirrored walls. 4 Haileys all wearing the same simple gray dress, all watching each other with the same quiet, contained anxiety. I caught Liam's gaze in the reflection. He smiled. "You're doing that thing again." "What thing?" "Staring like you're waiting for the glass to crack," he said, teasing, but not unkind. "It's just a reunion. Worst case, we stay an hour, eat bad hors d'oeuvres, laugh at a few awkward stories and leave." "Right, I said worst case." The elevator rose smoothly. My purse bumped against my hip with each breath, the folded letter inside suddenly feeling heavier than steel. He didn't know. He didn't know that a few months ago I had walked into a different building, smaller, older, its air heavy with old books and quiet grief. And everything I thought I knew about my life had shifted. The day of the will reading had started like any other burnt toast coffee too strong. Mom humming under her breath while she packed my lunch like I was still in middle school. "I can pack my own food, you know," I'd said. "I know," she answered, tucking a napkin inside the bag. "Let me fuss a little. It makes me feel useful." At the time, I thought she was just tired from the funeral. Losing Grandma, Martha had carved something out of both of us. A hollow place we were still learning to walk around. It wasn't until we pulled up in front of the attorney's office, the words Henderson and Co. etched in gold on the glass door, that I realized Mom's hands were shaking. Inside, everything smelled like paper and lemon cleaner. Framed degrees lined the walls, trying to look more comforting than intimidating. Mr. Henderson himself stood when we entered. He was a man in his 60s with kind eyes and a tie that looked older than I was. "Ms. Collins." He greeted my mother. "Hailey, please have a seat." There were only 3 chairs in front of his desk. No distant cousins, no vultures circling, just us. I remember thinking that was a little odd. Then again, Grandma had always said most of the family had written her off years ago. Apparently she'd returned the favor. He slid a thin stack of papers in front of us. "Your grandmother was very clear and very organized," he said. "She updated her will 18 months ago and again 3 months before she passed. She also left a personal letter to you, Hailey, which we'll get to in a moment." My heartbeat moved up into my throat. "Okay." He began with the basics. Small bequests, a few sentimental items to extended relatives we barely knew. Then his voice took on a different cadence, careful and deliberate. "As for the remainder of her estate," he read, "including all liquid assets, investments, real property, and intellectual property, I hereby leave 100% to my granddaughter Hailey Collins." For a second I thought I'd misheard him. Mom's head snapped in my direction so fast I heard her neck crack. "Excuse me," she whispered. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat gently. "Your mother's estate has been appraised and audited, after taxes, debts, and fees. The remainder total currently stands at $32,421,619.73. The numbers didn't sound real. They sounded like something from a movie, like a line the actress would repeat in disbelief before the cut to commercial. 32 million. 32 million. My fingers went numb. The room tilted the walls, breathing in and out like something alive. I clung to the edge of the chair, silently counting. "In 1 2 3 4 out 1 2 3 4. "Calm, focus, don't pass out." Mom made a strangled sound. That must be a mistake," she said. "My mother didn't. She couldn't. We lived paycheck to paycheck when I was a kid. She always said she—" "Your mother was a very careful investor," Mr. Henderson said gently. "She made some extremely profitable decisions over the years, particularly in real estate and early tech stocks. She also wrote romance novels under 2 pseudonyms that did surprisingly well." I blinked. "Grandma wrote romance novels." He smiled faintly. "Very steamy ones, actually. You can read the rights breakdown if you like. My grandmother, who baked cookies shaped like hearts and read murder mysteries and wore faded floral dresses, had secretly been building an empire. Hypnotic hidden patient, Mom whispered. Why didn't she say anything? According to her letter, Mr. Henderson said, reaching into a folder and sliding a sealed envelope toward me, she had her reasons. This is for you, Hailey. She asked that it be read after I explained the basics. My name was written on the front in Grandma's looping script. Seeing it made my eyes burn more than the number had. For now, he continued. What you need to know is that the assets are being moved into a trust in your name. There are protections in place. You will have full control at 28, but you have immediate access to a generous monthly disbursement. You are also allowed to use funds for education property or starting a business with the approval of a co-trustee. Who's the co-trustee? I asked, my voice faint. That would be me, he said, and if you wish you can add another later. The rest of the meeting blurred talk of portfolios and risk tolerance of diversified investments and inflation. Mom nodded mechanically, her eyes wide and empty. I was there, but not there, slipping in and out of the chair like a ghost. It wasn't until he said the word marriage that my brain snapped back into focus. Given the size of the estate, Mr. Henderson said carefully, folding his hands, your grandmother strongly recommended that you protect it. She left specific instructions about prenuptial agreements in the case that you marry. Prenup. I repeated the syllables sharp in my mouth. Yes, he said. She was very firm on that. There's even a draft template attached to the will. Of course, you don't have to use her exact version, but she wanted you to understand your options. Mom's face flushed. This is absurd. She's only 27. She and Liam. He looked at her kindly. Your mother mentioned a young man in her letter. She didn't say anything bad about him. She simply wanted Hailey to know that love and money often complicate each other, and that boundaries can be a form of… What were her words? A form of self-respect, not a lack of trust. The phrase sank into me like ink on thirsty paper. Self-respect, protection, untouchable. After we left the office, Mom drove in silence for 5 full minutes before pulling the car over on a quiet side street. She turned off the engine and stared straight ahead. Mom, I whispered. She pressed her palms against the steering wheel, knuckles white. You listen to me, Hailey. Her voice shook. You don't tell anyone. Not your coworkers, not your friends, and absolutely not the Parkers. Do you understand? I flinched. Yeah, okay, but Liam, especially not Liam, she snapped. Then winced at her own tone. I'm sorry, I know people. I grew up in that house. I know what they do when they smell money. Liam isn't his mother, I said softly. I know, she whispered, but he's hers. She reached over and grabbed my hands, squeezing them so hard it almost hurt. You are not a bank account. You are not leverage. You are not their way into something your grandmother built while they laughed at her. Tears blurred my vision, I know. Do you? She asked. Because I've watched you twist yourself into knots, trying to fit into their world, trying to be acceptable, affordable, pleasant. They will either love you exactly as you are in this, she tugged gently at my faded jeans, or they will not love you at all. The money doesn't change that. A ring doesn't change that. Nothing does. Her words wrapped around me like a spell, equal parts comfort and warning. That night, long after Mom had gone to bed, I sat in my room with Grandma's letter in my lap. The envelope opened with a soft tear. Her handwriting spilled out across the page, familiar and messy. Baby girl. If you're reading this, it means I'm eating pie with Jesus or annoying the angels or both. I laughed, a choked little sound. You always thought I was just an old lady with a cookbook and a stack of library cards. But I've been playing the long game for a very long time. Rich. People never scared me. Poor people never impressed me. Character did, pattern did. The way someone treats the waitress or the janitor when they think no one important is watching. That's worth more than any bank statement. I could see her in my mind, eyes crinkled at the corners, voice low and steady. You're going to have moments where this money feels cursed, where you'll want to throw it in a river because of how people look at you. Don't. Your grandpa and I scraped and saved, and then I got lucky and smart in equal measure. This is not dirty. This is not shameful. This is power. Quiet, patient. Useful power. The words pulsed on the page. When it comes to love, don't let anyone tell you that protecting what you've built is an insult. A prenup is just a seatbelt, honey. You can trust the driver and still wear one. If they refuse to get in the car with you unless you take it off, maybe they were planning to crash. I read that line 5 times. You marry for love if you want to. Or don't. But never, ever marry because you think you're lucky someone chose you. You're the choosing one. Let them show you who they are when they think you're small. Watch closely. People are their truest selves when they believe you're beneath them. The last paragraph was written slower, the ink a little shakier. One day, you will walk into a room and feel like the poorest person there. Let them believe that if they need to, your real wealth isn't in their line of sight. You carry it in your mind, your heart, your accounts, and your boundaries. That's your hypnotic power, Hailey. Quiet, undeniable, impossible to steal. Love, Grandma. I pressed the letter to my chest until my heartbeat steadied. The words seeped into me like warmth, like armor. So when Mr. Henderson had talked about prenups, about contracts and boundaries, I hadn't recoiled, I'd listened. I'd asked questions. I'd imagined a future version of myself sitting across from Liam, explaining calmly that my grandmother had given me a fortune and a warning in the same breath. Except I hadn't told him yet. Not when he got down on one knee under those fairy lights. Not when we talked about venues and guests and color schemes. Not when his mother mentioned family contributions and starting you kids off on the right foot, as if we were stepping onto a stage instead of into a marriage. I told Noah first. He'd come home from his meeting one evening. The faint smell of cigarette smoke and black coffee clinging to him. His eyes clearer than I'd seen in years. "So how's it feel being the secret dragon of the family?" he asked after I showed him the letter and the account statements. "Terrifying," I said. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, power usually is." I'd laughed, but he wasn't wrong. Now as the elevator doors slid open onto the 3rd floor of the hotel, and the sound of music and laughter spilled out into the hallway, those memories layered themselves over the present like translucent film. Liam glanced at me, ready. "No." "Yes," I said. We walked down the corridor toward the Magnolia Ballroom, the carpet muffling our steps. A banner hung above the doorway. "Welcome back, class of 2015. A smaller sign beneath it read, "Please check in." Behind the check-in table stood a woman in a sequined dress, her hair perfectly curled, her smile bright and sharp. Sophie Reed. In high school, Sophie had been the girl every guy noticed, and every girl measured herself against. She'd had a crush on Liam that everyone knew about, including Liam. Now she sold high-end houses to people with more money than patience, and posted motivational quotes on her real estate Instagram. "Liam Parker," she squealed, thrusting her arms out as we approached, and "Hailey." Her eyes slid over me like a scanner, taking in the dress, the shoes, the minimal jewelry. For a split second, something close to disappointment flickered before she smoothed it over with sugar. "Wow," she said. "You look so sweet." She turned to Liam. "You didn't tell me she was going for the understated bride vibe. We're all in full glam mode tonight." I felt my spine stiffen. Understated sweet not enough. Liam squeezed my hand. "She looks perfect," he said easily. "Hi, Sophie." Always the gentleman. She cooed and then lowered her voice conspiratorially, leaning closer to me. "Don't worry, babe. By the time your actual wedding rolls around, we'll have you in something totally jaw-dropping. I know a stylist. Family discount." Her words slid under my skin like small polished knives. "Smile, breathe, watch." "I'll keep that in mind," I said, my tone light. Sophie's gaze flicked to my left hand. The ring. Her smile wavered, then reasserted itself brighter this time. "Well, let me get you checked in. Future Mrs. Parker. Front and center." The words settled on me like a weight I wasn't sure I'd agreed to carry. As she handed us our name tags, my purse shifted again against my hip. The faint rustle of paper brushed my awareness. My grandmother's voice echoed in my mind, clear and steady. "You're the choosing one." I pinned the little plastic badge to my dress, Hailey Collins, in bold black letters, and stepped past the threshold into the ballroom, into the bright, laughing, judging mouth of the past. $32 million slept quietly in the background of my life. Tonight, for now, I let everyone see only the girl in the simple gray dress. And I watched. The Magnolia Ballroom looked like someone had taken a prom from our senior year, dipped it in gold, and told it to grow up. Soft amber lights glowed from crystal chandeliers. White linens draped every table. The DJ booth pulsed with early 2010s nostalgia. Katy Perry, Bruno. Mars, something bass-heavy with too much confidence. People milled in tight clusters, laughing too loudly, hugging too long, performing adulthood like a talent show. And then there was me, Hailey Collins. Gray dress. Simple shoes. Name tag pinned slightly crooked because Liam had tried to fix it twice and I'd said, "It's fine, I don't need to be laminated into perfection." He didn't understand what I meant, but he kissed my forehead anyway. "Let's say hi," he said, pulling me gently toward the crowd. Everyone's so excited. Yes, excited to see him, to see what kind of woman the golden boy had chosen. I wasn't offended, I'd expected it. Still, it stung. Liam Parker. "Look at you, man." Someone called a guy in a tailored suit with a thinning hairline pulled him into a long bro hug. It took me a moment, but then I recognized him. Ryan Wallace, former class clown. Now a finance guy. According to his Instagram, which alternated between selfies at the gym and screenshots of stock charts, he'd once spilled orange soda on my backpack and never apologized. "Hailey," he said, squinting at me like I was a fuzzy memory. "Wow. Long time. You look different." Different from what, different how? But Liam was already talking to him, launching into stories about college and work and sports, and I stood there quietly nodding when someone looked my way, smiling just enough to be polite. Invisible background character, supporting role. Perfect. Hailey. "Oh my God, hi!" Another voice squealed, syrupy and sharp around the edges. Liz Harper. Former cheer captain. Current yoga instructor, spiritual influencer, and part-time vendor of questionable detox teas. She grabbed my hands dramatically. "Oh, sweetie, I heard you work in insurance now." "That must be such a grounding job. So humble. I envy people like you. You know, the ones who stay connected to their roots." Connected to my roots. Translation still poor. I smiled. "It's a steady job." "That's beautiful," she said, eyes glowing with fake warmth. "We need steady energy in the world. Not everyone can chase wild dreams." She said the word steady energy like she was complimenting a plant. A potted one. Near the bathrooms. The worst part. She believed she was being kind. People like her always did. A waiter walked by with a tray of champagne. Liam grabbed 2 flutes, handing me one with a grin. "Want to find a table?" As we moved, whispers floated behind us. "Is that the girl he's marrying? She's cute in a sweet way." I thought he'd pick someone more elegant. Maybe he's going through a phase. No, his mom would never allow that. Maybe she's rich. Who knows? "Please, look at that dress." Giggles, snickers. The soundtrack of teenage years looping back for an encore. I kept walking. I kept smiling. I kept breathing. Small and visible, not enough for now. We found a table near the center of the ballroom. Gold chairs, gold chargers, gold everything. Overkill disguised as glamour. "I'll get us drinks," Liam said, leaving to stand in line at the bar. The moment he stepped away, 2 women approached. Kelsey Brown and Megan Price. Once inseparable, both now married, both mothers, both still carrying the same performative confidence of girls who'd peaked early. Hailey Kelsey said, her smile stretched too wide. "We were just talking about you." "Hope it was good," I said lightly. "Oh yeah, totally," Megan chimed in, eyes flicking over my outfit. "We were saying how brave it is that you came so chill." "Brave," I echoed. She nodded vigorously. "Totally. Most of us spent hours getting ready." "Like hours. I mean, you're engaged to Liam Parker. You could have really gone all out, but keeping it simple, that's a vibe." A vibe, a vibe. I wanted to laugh, but my throat was tight. Before I could answer, a familiar voice cut in. Smooth, warm, practiced. Mrs. Victoria Parker, Liam's mother. Hair perfect, dress, flawless, smile razor sharp. "Girls," she said with a nod, then turned to me. "Hailey dear, you look comfortable." Comfortable. The kill shot. Kelsey and Megan drifted away like obedient minions. Victoria took the seat next to me, placing her clutch delicately on the table. "I see you went with something understated," she said. "I like this dress," I said simply. She nodded, eyes cool. "Of course. And we all have different tastes. Though for an event like this, well, first impressions linger." She didn't have to say the rest. "You could have tried harder. You could have made my son look better. You could have represented us properly." I lifted my chin, keeping my voice calm. I'm comfortable being myself. A faint smile curved her lips. That's admirable, really. She said admirable the same way someone says pitiful. Before she could continue, Liam returned, placing a cocktail in front of her mom. You made it. Wouldn't miss it, she said, patting his hand. Then to me, Hailey was just telling me how she chose her effortless look tonight. Heat rose in my cheeks, but I held still. Liam laughed. Yeah, that's Hailey, simple and beautiful. Simple. The word slid into my chest, lodging like a splinter. Victoria tilted her head. Yes, quite simple. We were saved temporarily by the DJ lowering the music. All right, everyone, he shouted. Grab your drinks and take your seats. Dinner is coming out soon, and after that, awards. Awards. I blinked at Liam. Awards. He grinned. Oh yeah, fun stuff, best glow up, most likely to be a millionaire, all that. A strange pulse went through me at the last one. Millionaire. I was a 32 millionaire. And I was sitting here pretending to be the least important person in the room. The irony tasted metallic on my tongue, but I held the silence, held the disguise, held the smallness, because Grandma's words wrapped around me like a spell. Let them show you who they are when they think you're beneath them. Dinner arrived. Roasted chicken, baby potatoes, overcooked asparagus, and the hum of small talk filled the room. Across the table, Sophie took a photo of her plate, then another of herself. She applied lip gloss between bites. She leaned into Liam's shoulder a little too casually as she asked about his job, her perfume wafting across the table in sugary waves. So Hailey, she said, turning to me with a bright smile, still working at the insurance place. Yes, I said. That's stable. Another knife. Polished small sharp. But this time I smiled. Very stable, I said. Actually, my job's given me a lot of flexibility lately. I've had some financial changes in my family. It wasn't technically a lie, just not the whole truth. Sophie perked up instantly. Financial changes? Like what kind? I opened my mouth. But suddenly Liam's hand covered mine under the table. We don't need to bore everyone with work stuff, he said lightly. Let's enjoy the night. My stomach twisted. He thought he was protecting me. From what? From curiosity. From attention. From the possibility someone might treat me differently if they thought I had money. Or from letting the truth slip and revealing just how uneven our power had become. Liam didn't know the truth, but somehow he still feared it. Dinner ended. The lights dimmed. The DJ took the mic again. All right, class of 2015, it's time for the awards. First up, Best Glow Up. Cheers erupted. Name after name flashed on the screen. Photos, applause, fake humility, real vanity. Then, and the winner is Sophie Reed. She squealed, springing to her feet. Oh my God, stop it, you guys! As she floated to the stage, she passed behind me and murmured, Don't worry, Hailey, not everyone peaks. The breath left my lungs as if someone had pressed their thumb right into a bruise. The DJ moved on. Next most likely to be a millionaire. My heart thudded. They called a name. Not mine, of course. It wouldn't be. Not in their world. The winner strutted forward to applause that felt hollow. As he gave a short speech, my gaze drifted around the room. Ryan bragging about crypto. Liz adjusting her yoga brand crop top. Kelsey whispering something to Megan while glancing at my dress. Victoria smoothing an invisible wrinkle in her gown. Eyes scanning like a queen surveying peasants. Sophie on stage, basking in attention. Hair perfect, lips glossed. Everyone so certain of the hierarchy, so certain of who mattered, so certain of who didn't. They saw me as small, and that smallness was the most hypnotic power I'd ever held. Because the moment you let people think you are beneath them, they forget to guard themselves. They speak freely. They expose themselves. They underestimate you in ways that are almost generous. Grandma had known this. She'd mastered it. She'd handed it to me like a weapon wrapped in silk. As applause faded, I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. The night wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Soon, very soon, the first crack in their perfect facade would appear. All I had to do was watch. The next crack came quietly, so quietly that if I hadn't been paying attention, I might have missed it. But I had been paying attention all night. I had watched every smile, every whisper, every sideways glance. I had watched the way people touched each other, lightly, intimately, possessively. I had watched who pretended to like who pretended not to hate who, and who hid their envy behind champagne bubbles. And I had watched Liam, the way he laughed a little too loudly at Sophie's jokes, the way he tensed whenever his mother spoke, the way his fingers tightened around mine when the conversation drifted toward money jobs or the future. He wasn't cruel, he wasn't malicious, he wasn't one of them, but he wanted to belong with them. That was the problem. After the awards ceremony, the ballroom lights brightened again. The DJ transitioned to upbeat tracks, the kind that tugged people onto the dance floor. Laughter and chatter rose like steam. "Let's get some air," I said to Liam, touching his arm. "Sure," he said, relief flickering across his face. "Yeah, good idea." We slipped out to the balcony overlooking the city. Dallas glittered below glass towers, glowing billboards, headlights weaving through the streets like gold threads. The air smelled faintly of warm concrete and expensive perfume drifting from inside. Liam exhaled deeply, rolling his shoulders. "God, it's loud in there." "It is," I agreed. "How are you doing?" "Good," he said automatically. Yeah, good. But his jaw flexed, the telltale sign he was stressed. I knew his micro-expressions better than I knew my own. "Something on your mind?" I asked. He hesitated, looked at the city, looked at me, then offered a small smile. "It's just, you seem a little quiet tonight." "Quiet? Not overwhelmed, not thoughtful, just quiet." "I'm observing," I said. He chuckled. "That sounds like you." A softness tugged at my chest. It did sound like me. And maybe that was why this felt so hard. Because I wasn't trying to be a character. I wasn't pretending, I was simply being myself, and the world around me made it clear that wasn't ideal. Before I could respond, the balcony door swung open. Sophie, of course. Her hair was perfectly curled despite the humidity, her lipstick untouched, her confidence radiated like a neon sign. "There you two are," she trilled, stepping into the moonlight. "We're about to do a group picture with all the couples. Come on." She tugged on Liam's arm. He moved instinctively as if responding to muscle memory from high school. "Come on, Hales," she said to me, her tone sweet as syrup. "Even if you don't love photos, you'll want to remember this night." Her eyes said something else entirely. "You'll want proof you were here before you fade back into obscurity." I was tired of pretending not to understand subtext. Tired of pretending words didn't sting. Tired of letting people project smallness onto me like it belonged. I crossed my arms. "You can go ahead and take the picture without me." Sophie blinked. "What, why?" "Because I don't feel like being positioned as the before in your before and after." Her smile froze, porcelain cracking. Liam shot me a quick, startled look. "Hailey." "Relax," I said evenly. "Take your picture. I'll be right here." Sophie recovered quickly, because girls like her always recovered quickly. They had built entire identities out of social grace and beautifully sharpened ego. "Fine," she said sweetly. "Just don't take too long. People are asking about you." She left with a swish of perfume. The balcony fell quiet again. Liam ran a hand through his hair. "That was unexpected." "What you said to her." My pulse thudded. "Was I wrong?" He opened his mouth, closed it, sighed. "No, but you don't have to be so defensive." "Defensive?" A small, bitter laugh bubbled in my chest. "I'm not being defensive, I'm responding. I just don't want tonight to turn into drama," he said gently. "Please, it's supposed to be fun." "Fun for who?" My voice softened. "Did you hear the way she talked to me, or the others? Or your mom?" Liam leaned against the railing, looking exhausted. "They don't mean anything by it. That's just them. They joke like that with everyone." "No," I said quietly, "not with everyone." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying they treat me differently." He blinked, slow and confused. "Different how?" "Different, like I was less different. Like I was lucky to be breathing their air. Different like I was temporary, expendable, excessive. If I tried to shine useful, only when I stayed small." "Just forget it," I murmured. But he stepped closer. "No, tell me." His sincerity made it worse. Because he wasn't trying to hurt me. He was trying to understand something he'd never experienced. "Liam," I said slowly, "did you notice nobody asked me about my life?" "Not really. Not with interest. They asked about my job, sure, but only to slot me into a category." "What category?" "The cheap bride," I whispered. His face hardened. "That's not fair." "It's true." "No, Hailey, come on. People love you. They're just, look. Sophie's always been intense, you know that." "This isn't about Sophie." I met his eyes. "It's about everyone." He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "I don't know what you're trying to say." Of course he didn't. I closed my eyes, grounding myself. In 1, 2, 3, 4, out 1, 2, 3, 4. Grandma's voice brushed my mind like a warm palm. "People show you who they really are when they think you're beneath them. When I opened my eyes again, Liam was watching me with a look that made something twist in my chest. Concern, confusion, and fear. Not fear of me. Fear of losing the narrative. Fear of me changing the rules. Fear of what money, if he ever knew, could do to our balance. Liam, I said softly. If I told you my life was different than you think, would you listen? He frowned. Different how? Financially. His back went rigid. Financially, the forbidden word in every polite conversation. He swallowed. Are you in trouble? Did something happen? Yes, I whispered. Something happened. His hand found mine. Then tell me, please. My heart hammered against my ribs. I could show him the truth. Right now, I could pull out the letter, unfold my grandmother's words, and spill everything. The trust, the investments, the power I hadn't asked for but now carried. I could reveal myself completely. But then I heard the ballroom's laughter behind us, the same laughter that had weighed me down all night, sneaking through the balcony doors like an unwelcome draft. No, not yet. Not here. Not in this place where people saw me as tiny, insignificant, easily dismissed. I needed to know something first. A single necessary truth. Could Liam love me if I stayed small? Or did he only love me because staying small made me safe for him? I squeezed his hand gently. It's nothing urgent. We'll talk later. He nodded, visibly relieved. Okay, yeah. Later. Let's go back inside, I said. We re-entered the ballroom just as the DJ shouted, All right, everyone, time for the engagement tribute. Future brides and grooms, come up here. My stomach dropped. Oh, Liam said, brightening. This could be cute. Cute. The universe was definitely laughing. Sophie appeared at my elbow before I could speak. Hailey. There you are. Come on, babe. This will be adorable. She took my wrist gently, but firmly, and guided me toward the front. The crowd parted. Cameras lifted. People whispered, Oh, they're highlighting the Parkers. His fiancée is pretty, but plain Victoria must be dying inside. Maybe she'll upgrade her after the wedding. I give it 2 years. Each word sliced into me with perfect precision. I stepped onto the small stage beside Liam. Victoria stood at the front of the crowd, shoulders tight, smile carved like ice. And in that moment, in the brightness of the spotlight, the crack finally widened. Because as the applause rose like artificial thunder, I looked out at the crowd and saw nothing but strangers wearing familiar faces. Strangers who judged. Strangers who dismissed, strangers who saw me only as a placeholder. Strangers who believed I was small because they needed me to be small. And something deep inside me, something quiet, hypnotic, and utterly unstoppable shifted. I didn't feel small, not even a little. Not with $32 million folded quietly in my purse. Not with my grandmother's words threading through my blood like steel. Not with the knowledge that everything they assumed about me was wrong. The spotlight burned warm against my skin. Let them look. Let them whisper. Let them believe I am nothing. Because when the truth comes out, they will never see me coming. The first crack wasn't in me. It was in them, and it had only just begun. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There are countless real-life betrayals, twists, and revenge stories waiting for you in the next episodes. The photographer raised her camera, angling the lens toward us. The 5 engaged couples lined neatly across the small stage, each pair posed like a department store advertisement for happiness. Liam slid his arm around my waist, his palm warm against the small of my back. His touch was gentle, familiar, reassuring. But I wasn't reassured. The room buzzed with chatter, camera flashes blinking like small, invasive stars. The DJ said something into the microphone, some rehearsed speech about true love and lasting connections. But the words felt distant, muffled. Tonight I had seen enough of their connections. They weren't lasting. They weren't true. They weren't even kind. The photographer waved her hand. Couples closer together. Big smiles. Liam leaned his forehead against mine. You okay? He whispered. I smiled for the camera. A perfect, effortless smile. Absolutely, I murmured. The flash went off. Across the crowd, I saw them faces illuminated in the white light. Sophie smirking like she'd personally invented beauty. Kelsey and Megan whispering behind manicured hands. Ryan giving Liam a thumbs up like I was a used car. He'd helped negotiate Liz with her yoga guru tranquility, masking her sharp, assessing gaze. And Mrs. Victoria Parker, standing perfectly still, lips curved in a polite smile that didn't touch her eyes at all. It was a smile that said, "I will fix whatever mistake you've made." When the tribute ended, people surged around us in a wave of congratulations, hugs, handshakes, polite disbelief. Liam soaked it in, laughing and thanking everyone, while I stepped lightly aside, letting the crowd shift without pulling me under. That was when the real turning point arrived. It came in the form of a woman I didn't recognize at first, tall in a navy dress, silver hair braided like a crown. Her perfume was subtle but expensive, the kind that whispered old money instead of screaming it. She approached with a warm smile. "Hailey Collins." "Yes," I said. "I'm Meredith Clark," she said, extending her hand. "I work in corporate philanthropy." "I knew your grandmother." My heart jolted. "My grandmother," I echoed. "You knew her." She nodded, eyes kind. Of course, Martha Collins was extraordinary, generous, brilliant, quiet, but powerful. I worked with her foundation for years. Meredith's smile softened. "She used to talk about you." The room faded slightly at the edges. Did I whispered? "All the time," Meredith squeezed my hand. "She was very proud of you." My throat tightened. I had no idea she ran a foundation. "She preferred to keep her philanthropy discreet," Meredith said, "but she made some remarkable investments. Her financial instincts were nearly unmatched." Her voice was warm, genuine, completely unlike anyone else tonight. And then she said the words that cracked the night open. "I was surprised you didn't mention your inheritance at the alumni donor event last month. Your grandmother's trust is easily one of the largest contributions the program has ever received." The blood rushed in my ears. Inheritance, trust. Largest contributions. It was like a bomb detonating quietly. Liam stiffened. Inheritance. I swallowed. Sophie, in the worst possible timing, materialized at Meredith's elbow nose, twitching like a bloodhound catching a scent. "Inheritance," she repeated, eyes widening. "Wait, what inheritance?" Meredith looked confused. "Oh, did I say something wrong?" "No, you didn't," I thought. But the universe did. Victoria was suddenly beside us, too drawn by the shift in energy, like a queen sensing court gossip. "What inheritance?" she asked, her tone velvet-covered steel. All eyes turned to me. Liam's hand dropped from my waist. The moment stretched thin and fragile. I inhaled slowly. In 1, 2, 3, 4, out 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I spoke. "My grandmother left me something when she passed," I said calmly. The room around us quieted. Not fully, but enough. Enough for several nearby tables to hush. Enough for whispers to start like sparks on dry grass. Sophie leaned forward. "How much something?" A dangerous smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Small, controlled, sharp. "Enough," I said. "That's not an answer." Megan chimed in from behind Sophie. "Is it like college money? A house? A small trust?" I looked directly at Victoria as I answered. 32 million, I said. The words landed like thunder inside a glass room. Silence bloomed, then, "What? No way." "She's joking." "Did she say 32 million? What the—" But Victoria didn't speak. She didn't blink. She didn't move. Her face was frozen, shock rippling behind her eyes like an earthquake beneath polished marble. Liam let out a breath that wasn't really a breath. "Hailey," he whispered. "Why didn't you tell me?" I met his gaze, calm, steady. "Because I wanted to see who everyone was before they saw the money." A few people actually recoiled at that. They should have. Sophie grabbed the edge of a chair for balance. 32 million. As in 32,000,000. "Yes," I said gently, "as in 32 million. Meredith, bless her soul, looked mortified. "Hailey, I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was private." "It's fine," I said kindly. "Really." Ryan let out a low whistle. No wonder she wasn't worried about that dress. I turned my head slowly. "Why would I be worried about the dress?" I asked. He blinked. "Oh, I didn't mean I just—" But another voice cut over him. "Victoria?" "How long?" she asked quietly. "Have you known about this?" Her tone wasn't accusing. It wasn't angry. It was calculating. 3 seconds to 1. 3 months, I said. "And you told no one?" she asked. "I told Noah," I answered. "And my mom." "You didn't tell Liam," she said carefully. "No," I said I didn't." Sophie let out a soft, stunned laugh. "Oh my God, you were sitting here all night letting everyone think you were—" Small, I finished for her. Her mouth snapped shut. Meredith placed a hand on my shoulder. Voice gentle. "Martha always said you were exactly like her. Quiet strength. Quiet wisdom." I could have cried. Instead, I stood a little taller. Liam swallowed, stepping closer. "Hailey, I wish you'd trusted me." I turned to him. My fiancé, the man who loved me, the man I loved. I needed to know, I said softly, how people would treat me when they thought I had nothing. His face tightened. You think I wouldn't have treated you the same? And here it was, the moment the universe held its breath. I cupped his cheek gently. I never doubted you would love me. But love isn't the same as understanding, or choosing, or standing up for me. His eyes flickered. A small wound, a small truth, a small unraveling. Victoria stepped forward. Hailey, she said, regaining her composure. I think this is a conversation we should have in private. I smiled faintly. I think this is exactly the place for it. The crowd sucked in a breath. Because I wasn't being cruel, I wasn't being dramatic. I was being honest. This room, I said quietly, is where every single person here decided who I was, before they even asked. A hush descended. You all labeled me, I continued. Sweet, simple, plain, lucky, cheap, invisible. Sophie's cheeks flushed bright red. Victoria's jaw tightened, and still I wasn't angry. Just awake. But the truth is, I let the silence build warm and electric. I'm the one who gets to choose. The words hung in the air like a flare, bright, undeniable. Meredith smiled warmly. Martha would be so proud of you. I exhaled slowly. Excuse me, I said softly. I need a moment. I walked away, not rushing, not hiding, just stepping calmly through the parting crowd. My gray dress swayed around my knees like smoke. They watched me as if seeing me for the very first time. Not because I had money, but because I suddenly stood tall enough for them to realize they had been looking down at me from the wrong height all along. I reached the balcony again, gripping the cool railing, feeling the weight of the night settle through me. Inside, muffled voices rose, shocked, frantic, curious. Questions. Accusations. Calculations. I didn't turn back. Not yet. The truth had been released into the room like a spark. And soon, very soon, everything would burn in the light of it. But I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Because tonight wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning.